Hello and welcome to Business Talk, the show where we dive into the world of business and entrepreneurship, bringing you the latest insights and perspectives from industry leaders. I'm your host, Michael Avery, and today we've got a very exciting follow-up interview with one of our two distinguished guests who are at the forefront of driving innovation and collaboration in the South African business landscape. Joining us today are Xolani and Nxanga, who's a managing executive and InsurTech lead at Guardrisk LAUNCHPAD, and we spoke about that not too long ago. Xolani, great to see you again. And you're joined today by Mathew, who's the founder of Startup Club ZA, and we're going to be discussing the recent partnership and how it's shaping the future of scale-ups in South Africa. Very, very exciting, this, if you're in the world of high-growth entrepreneurship. So let's dive in. Xolani, maybe it's best for you to just segue us in, because we spoke last time about this initiative by Guardrisk. Can you tell us a little bit about the origins of this partnership between Guardrisk LAUNCHPAD and Startup Club ZA, and how it really benefits both organizations?
Okay, good. Yeah, thanks, Michael, for having me once again on the show. And yeah, it's a great pleasure to also have Matt join us for this conversation today. Yeah, look, Matt and I were introduced to each other by a common friend, Ravi. He is with MMH. MMH is also busy, crafting a venture building capability within the group. So digital transformation is a big theme in our strategy, just as MMH Group. So that's how Matt and I, got to chat and talk about the wonderful work that he was planning to do. And we were also just keen to get out there and be part of the community. So I mean, our go-to-market strategy is three-pronged. We said we wanted to be in social media. Secondly, we said we will do above the line PR to create awareness, which is part of the conversation that I had with you, Michael. And then thirdly, is really getting ourselves in touch with the communities and attending events where we can meet people that are influential in the entrepreneurship space, and specifically InsurTech.
Yeah, because I mean, a big part of venturing, be it corporate venturing, any kind of venturing, is creating deal flow, filling that pipeline, understanding the entrepreneurs, the jockeys out there, and looking for potential investments and partnerships. And Matt, we were just chatting earlier, you've recently moved just down the road from me, so I can see us having a few coffees and sharing some entrepreneurial stories over the coming weeks and months. But how did this partnership, this union come about from your perspective? And had you heard about the Launchpad and thought, well, this is an opportunity for Startup Club ZA to really plug into an exciting new venture?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. And again, a huge fan of Business Talk, so it's a real pleasure to be here with you today, and of course to be joined by a friend, Xolani. I think I will caveat that with a quick intro on the Startup Club, if you wouldn't mind. As a community platform, we really exist to serve the technology startup ecosystem, which for anyone involved in that will understand it's particularly nuanced compared to general entrepreneurship. These are individuals typically building proprietary tech or using it in a novel way to solve meaningful problems in a commercially viable way. And there are nuances around everything from fundraising to the way products are built and the way that acquisitions happen and ultimately companies find fit, right? So for us, we're here to serve that ecosystem, and we're humbled to now be building the fastest growing tech startup community in the country, with a primary mandate to really not only aggregate these key stakeholders, whether that's academics, government, big corporate, founders, investors, and really everyone in between, but we're trying to create the means for them to engage one another productively, both in person and online. Obviously, that results in things like capital matchmaking, but what we're very excited about is it also creates a preeminent pipeline for hiring and partnerships, key customers, and obviously close to my heart, I was mentioning this to you earlier, is how do we build South Africa's narrative, especially tech startup narrative, as being investable and attractive for global capital markets. Now, naturally, in doing that work, we're fortunate to meet some folks who are looking to not only drive innovation, but are thinking about how their organizations can really support innovation and the innovation ecosystem. And again, through this mutual introduction, I've been fortunate to meet the Guardrisk team, incredibly excited about this proposition. I think it's a wonderful flagship program as to how a corporate can not only engage with ecosystem builders like us, but directly with founders. And we'll obviously explore how that gives them competitive advantage in a couple of moments' time.
Yeah, and I mean, we were chatting about this before we started this recording, and how the narrative in South Africa, there's definitely this gloom, end of the road kind of narrative. But then, I mean, in my work and in the conversations that I have, I chat to a lot of founders, a lot of entrepreneurs. There was one, Jaco Oosthuizen, who's bringing ULife from the UK back into the local market. And I asked him, I said, Jaco, what are you doing? Everyone's heading opposite in the opposite direction because of load shedding and all of this risk. He says, come on, Michael, there's risk all over the place. And it isn't, the grass isn't greener on the other side. What that does do is create an outsized opportunity set. Often when you find that the times are darkest and the mood is gloomiest, that's where the real entrepreneurs are out there rolling up their sleeves and finding that opportunity. Xolani, how does Guardrisk LAUNCHPAD aim to now support the growth and success of scale-ups and entrepreneurs in South Africa who, looking at the environment, see this opportunity, and how does this partnership contribute to those efforts?
Okay, so I think that this partnership really aligns at two levels. I think the first level, I think it's around support. I mean, running a business can be really challenging, but I think it can also be very lonely. So at these events, at the startup club events, people come and they meet seasoned entrepreneurs who have been through trials and tribulations. And the people are able to then identify with these entrepreneurs, what they've gone through. But I think at the same time, they have the opportunity to access these people, access the knowledge, and also access those lived experiences, which is a great forum for the entrepreneurs to really get the support that they need. Doesn't matter where they are in terms of, establishing their business. I think secondly, what this relationship does, it's an opportunity for creating networks for startups, for scale-ups. If you think about it, I know the financial world better because that's where I've spent most of my life. When you design solutions there, it's very rare that you can provide, end-to-end solution. So sometimes you need other people to provide certain services and products. And this is where you get to meet other entrepreneurs who can help you solidify your value proposition. And hopefully you can, again, have the opportunity to meet people like us, where we provide resources such as funding, our domain expertise in insurance. Again, that will then help you to really solidify your value proposition that you ultimately take out to the market. So we see this partnership really playing a critical role in supporting entrepreneurs and also helping them create that social capital via these networks.
Yeah, and that social capital is critical in a market such as ours, where, I mean, sometimes it's criticized as being a little too concentrated. But I would retort and say, well, how did Capitec break into the top leagues of the big banks? I mean, if not for being entrepreneurial and just doing the basics better than the incumbents. Matt, I mean, how do you envisage LAUNCHPAD's involvement in the scale-up community that you've built up now into the fastest growing scale-up community in tech in South Africa? How do you see this evolving over time?
It's a good question, Michael. I think, Xolani will probably be able to speak to the significant demand they've had since going public with the LAUNCHPAD initiative, so I won't steal his thunder there. But I anticipate this growing pretty considerably. I think it must be said that a partnership with the likes of LAUNCHPAD here, for us, also sets a wonderful precedent as to how big corporates can actively engage the technology ecosystem, not only in terms of how they build support, programmatic or otherwise, for tech startups, but how they stay relevant to the conversation, right? There is definitely a a rhetoric that it's almost startups versus corporate. And that's actually not the way that either of those parties succeed. Startups can bring real innovation to corporates. Corporates, like in this instance, and one of the things why we really appreciate what Guardrisk has done is any corporate startup partnership is really about reducing barriers to entry and establishing competitive advantage. And in this instance, particularly in the insurance space, incredibly high barriers to entry, whether that's capital constraints or regulatory compliance and even distribution. And in this case, you get the opportunity to partner with the likes of a Guardrisk, the broader NNH group, to really capitalize on Big Brother's roadmaps and blueprints that they've already built. So in this case, we think it's only going to grow. We're excited to see, of course, where that goes. The insurance space, despite a number of new competitors, is still ripe for innovation. I don't know about you, for many years, I have not always been the happiest with my insurer, and so that always represents, opportunity. And we think founders are going to be the ones who solve that, and backed with great initiatives like this. So very excited, and we think it's going to have set a really promising precedent for the rest of the ecosystem, not just in insurance, but in other verticals as well.
I mean, I can understand why InsurTech is so ripe for breakout growth at the moment, because in the more financial fintech type space, if you're a bank customer, you're engaging on the banking app almost daily, whereas insurance, to get that engagement up, slightly more challenging because you're likely only going to visit an app or a platform as and when you need to claim. But the innovation is happening in other areas about how you can onboard, how quickly you can claim, personalized insurance based on usage habits, and really, really is exciting. Xolani, LAUNCHPAD was not that long ago, but Matt kind of teed you up for this. You've seen some pretty good growth. Tell me a little bit about the market reception.
Yeah, no, I think it's been overwhelming, Michael. I think it's done the public launch that we did. It's done exactly what we were looking for. It's exposed us to technology that we didn't see that it's coming. Some of these things we thought that they were far away. So we had ideas of how we could change customer experience, for example, and the tech that's required, to do that. And lo and behold, we met a technology company that said to us, we've spent 4 years building this, and we were looking for a partner that can help us, get into the market. So already, we are talking to an entity that has spent a lot of time researching, understanding customers, understanding that technology. So it would be for us then to bring, what we're good at, to bring the license, bring our networks, to bring our relationships with the regulator and, insurance market. Which is fantastic.
On that point, Xolani, I don't want to interrupt, but and Matt said it. There has been this view in the market that the fintechs, the InsurTechs, are always the bridesmaids, and they're always asked to dance, and then you're never actually, the bride or the groom. Pick one. But this seems to be changing. Is that trust relationship improving, or are you finding that particularly challenging to develop that trust, to say, right, this is a true partnership, this isn't an IP mining exercise?
Yeah, we are in a particularly unique position because of our business model. Our business model is actually founded on supporting and helping entrepreneurs. The easiest way to describe it is insurance as a service. So if you are looking to enter the insurance market and you need a license, you should come to us first instead of trying to get your own license, just because of how hard it is to go through the process. The admin process that you have to go through to acquire your own license, it can take you up to 2 years. That's what we've heard in the market. And I think on that point. So when ULife was looking to enter the market, that was one of the considerations. They needed an insurance license to get into South Africa. And hence they have partnered with us. That has enabled them within a very short space of time to launch in South Africa. And actually, I attended the launch in Cape Town last week. And it's just amazing what we've been able to do together.
Well, I think it's a great real-life example of how quickly LAUNCHPAD has, true to its name, launched into the market. Matt, from that perspective and looking at it from the startup ZA perspective, is this finally now breaking down the myth that there's this adversarial relationship between the more agile, nimble, innovative startup and the incumbents who've got access, as you said, to distribution and regulatory capital and licenses and the rest of it?
Yes, it is. I mean, of course it is, right? Does that mean it solves every problem? No, right? I think to Xolani's point, though, this is where collaboration comes to the fore. And so relying on parties who have already mastered certain areas, and this is not just InsurTech, this is any innovative space or founder looking to break into industry that are ripe for innovation. In this case, it's just a wonderful flagship precedent, if you would, for how a corp can really flip that switch, and say, great, instead of just building this out internally, which, by the way, has been the temptation, I think, for most corporates, let's just put another line item on the balance sheet there and see what the innovation team can come up with. The reality is that corporates are not always best positioned to understand problems and accordingly solve them, right? So in this case, I think Guardrisk is really on the money. And I really do. I actually think they're probably not going to have capacity, which is a good problem, right? This is a problem that I'm sure Xolani wishes he has, but I don't think they'll have capacity or capital enough to probably support the demand that they foresee.
Well, we're going to help feed that demand. How can interested parties take advantage? Xolani, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, I think, if I was sitting there as a scale-up or a startup, the first thing I'll do is to attend the Startup Club events. I've attended 3 of them, including the launch. They were all jam-packed, high-quality entrepreneurs who shared very interesting experiences. And I think if you're smart, there's a lot that you can learn from those entrepreneurs. So I think that's the one, because you can also meet other people that, like I said, can help you strengthen your value proposition. And of course, secondly, get in touch with us. We have got a website, www.grlaunchpad.com. And also you can send an inquiry to info@grlaunchpad.com.
Well, that's it. So I'm looking forward to those sessions with the Startup Club ZA. And that's also a wrap for today's episode of Business Talk. A big thank you to both of our guests, Xolani and Nxanga from Guardrisk, LAUNCHPAD and InsurTech Lead, and Mathew Marsden from the Startup Club ZA for sharing those very interesting insights and perspectives on how a partnership is driving innovation and growth in the scale-up community in South Africa. From me, Michael Avery, until next time, keep striving for success.